him like butter. Look out! Oh, uppercut! Wow! What did we say before this fight? We had never seen...
Oh! Oh, no!
What's the retail on one of those?
And now he jumps the fence.
No.
Whoa! No! And he's going right at Dylan Dennis. Mayhem!
Oh, no, here! You cost off to the title, you bastard! Get in there fighting! You want to, you scoot him out of the title! Don't worry, he's gonna get in there, all right! All blows, all legal! And look where Orton's head landed!
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Now, Bitcoin is currently consolidating after this massive move. You could say it does, in fact, look like a bit potentially of a bullish flag, right? We do have to be careful. There is always the possibility. We have seen these sort of like Bart Simpson type moves before. If you've been in crypto, you know what I'm talking about. What is the likelihood that we actually get a rejection at this level, or is this just a continuation for another trend to the upside? Well, we're going to take a look at this very pragmatically. There's a few things I want to go over. We're going to go over the good news. There is some good news for Bitcoin. There also is some, I don't want to say bad news, but stuff that we need to pay attention to, some hurdles that we still technically need to overcome for Bitcoin, whether or not to see we are in a true, beginning of a bull cycle, or if this actually is just a fake out. There are two possibilities. I know you guys are going to laugh. It's going to go up or down, right? Those are the possibilities. Well, okay, fine. Yes, it is technically going to go up or down, but historically speaking, there is something that always happens on the Bitcoin chart. At least it's happened 90+% of the times for all of Bitcoin's history. So there is a very high likelihood that it will happen again. So I want to let you know exactly what we should be expecting moving forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hopefully we can keep this video a little bit shorter than usual. I just want to let you guys know where we're sort of at right now. We cannot deny this was an amazing move off the bottom. A lot of people coming out saying that's it. Definitively, the bottom has to be in. Well, we'll talk about that in just a minute, but if you do like this kind of content, make sure that you get subscribed. Thank you for coming back. And also, I know I literally just started a Facebook account. If you guys want to follow me, it's The Crypto Zombie, Facebook / The Crypto Zombie, or you can check the links below. Why did I start a Facebook? Honestly, people were asking me to. I'm not really a big Facebook guy, but I will be posting over there daily. So if you want to, share some of these charts or some of these videos with friends on Facebook, it'll be a lot easier. I'll be posting over there. So those links will be below. But, obviously, thank you for coming to this channel. This is where we do the majority of the meat and potatoes of everything Crypto Zombie related. So let's talk about a few things. Let's start with the good. Let's start with the obvious. Let's talk about why we knew we were due for this move, right? Now, this does go back to the market cipher. And remember, when we do have these green dots on the market cipher, and I've gone over this time and time again, they do often coincide with bottoms as long as a few other things are met, right? We have the VWAP going up to over the zero line. We also are in the red, which means that we're obviously in selling. There's selling pressure. And we have the RSI, which is this right here, relatively low. So, you can see the last time that we've had it, and I've gone through the charts. I'm not going to go through the whole history of Bitcoin again. I've done this so many times on the channel, but you can see right here, this was our last flash that we had. And this was December 17th of 2018. That did in fact mark the bottom. And we did have the Bitcoin price, basically go up from that point, right? So we can say that all of those were met. Now, if we come over here and we have a look, we actually had this green dot right here. Now, this did not mark the absolute bottom. I just want to point that out this time, right? A little bit different with, everything going on with the Fed. But nevertheless, we were in the red. We did have the VWAP coming up out of the red. And we also had a very low RSI. And you can also argue that we had that same situation here. And just to point it out too, if you actually connect this, you connect this trend line, you also had this anchor wave right here, right? You had this deep wave, and then you had it moving up into the trigger wave. So this is showing that you do have that momentum that was building to the upside. So that was just one of several reasons why we were anticipating this big move, which, by the way, if you guys are trading on TradingView and you want to get Market Cipher, I do have a link below for that in the description if you guys want to buy this indicator. It's a very good indicator for beginners, but also for experts as well. But I do find people kind of can look at the colors and the dots and the lines, and it's very visual, so it helps you to look at it. I do use it on occasion. I don't use it all the time for trading, but this was a big scenario as to why we were moving to the upside, right? I still have this ultimate target right here at around, this sort of roughly $25,000 area, which is where we had this, original Luna crash right there. So that is a possible target. And if we got out of that, that would mean that we broke this downward structure, right? So that's kind of like what we have going for the positives. The other thing that we have going is the 200 daily. Now, obviously, the lower you go on the time frames, the less important it is, right? If you go to the 1 hour, not as important as the 4 hour, not as important as the daily, not as important as the weekly, the monthly. You understand where I'm going with this, right? But nevertheless, on the daily, this is the actual first time that Bitcoin has been above this level pretty much since, back here when we fell around December of 2021. So, December of, basically 2 years ago. And you could see that it actually acted as a perfect resistance right here. Sorry, I had these previous drawings on. Let me actually just get rid of those again so you guys could see. But ultimately, if I zoom in right here, we are in fact above it, right? So there is that possibility that we could come down and retest it, just to kind of confirm it. That level is sitting at around 19,500. So, obviously you do get these pullbacks. I'm not saying we can't go higher. We could. Anything could happen. The more likely scenario is some form of a consolidation, right? And, if we just come back over to this chart again, I just want to show you guys how this kind of plays out. If we just do something like a parallel channel, just something kind of connecting here, and we pull it up, you can see right here, you could do whatever you want. You can come up to the solids if you want. You can pull it down. I'm just going from this first wick down here. You could also go higher if you want. You can go up to this wick right here, this wick to this wick. Let's do that. Screw it. That looks a little bit cleaner, right? And you could see that ultimately we are sort of still just dancing in this consolidation pattern. Right now, we are currently sitting below this heart line of the parallel channel. So if we were to drop straight down, where would that put us? That puts us at about 20,800, right? So falling out of this could signal a move to the downside. So something that you could look, if you were looking to make a trade right now, you could look for, maybe a pump up here. We retest on this trend and then we move to the upside. That would be a good place for a long. Or if you're looking to short, and I'm not saying to short the bottom, but you could look something like we fall below, we retest this, and then we come back down, right? Obviously, this number changes every day because it's a sloping channel. So I can't give you a specific number. Today, that number is sitting at around 20,800. Tomorrow, that number is sitting at around 20,844. Okay. So make sure that you get subscribed. All this information is free. We will go over this, but having a look right here, the other thing that was positive was that we got above the 21 exponential, right? This moving average, oftentimes you could see, generally speaking, when we tend to break above it, we often stay above it for a long time. And when we tend to break below it, even though this doesn't look like a very long time, this was actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, technically 11 weeks, right? And look what happened. As soon as we got above it, well, what happened? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks above it, right? This week is a little questionable. So, even though you can have these fake outs occasionally, which is what I'm a little concerned about, you nevertheless can say that right now we are pretty, it's looking pretty good. We are above it, right? We are still below this 200 weekly though. Now the 200 weekly, remember I said, hourly is not as important as the daily, is not as important as the weekly, monthly, etc. Well, if we're having a look at this weekly, this is arguably one of the most important levels for Bitcoin in Bitcoin history, and we are still sitting below it, right? So, minimally, you would want to get up above that $24,600 today. It's starting to kind of curve and slow and go sideways a little bit. It should sort of stabilize, but that price does move as well. So again, it's really good to see that we're above the 21 exponential. It's really good to see that we're above the 200 daily, but we're not above the 200 weekly yet. So you can say that maybe the bottom is in. You can say we had those indicators, but you can't officially say that the bull run is back. Not just yet, okay? And you might be saying, well, if you're dollar cost averaging, who cares? Well, if you're dollar cost averaging, which is what I do, which is what lots of people do, then you're fine, Some people did take a little bit of profits on that move. Okay, do that as well, right? You want to be hedged in both ways. My portfolio is currently weighted more towards Bitcoin But that's me personally. You know, some people feel more comfortable sitting in cash. I don't really have a need for tons of cash right now. That's not something I have a cash position, but it's nowhere near my Bitcoin position, right? I am a long-term hodler, but I also do swing trade. And my ultimate goal is to accumulate more Bitcoin in the long run, but you don't ever want to just totally run out of cash that you couldn't buy a dip. Like, let's say that this isn't the pump. Let's say that we're all being faked out right now. Let's say that all these guys, all these bears, these billionaires that are saying it's going to get worse, the recession, we're going to crash. Well, if that's the case, you want to have some cash on the side just in the event, you know, that you could buy that dip, right? But nevertheless, if we just have a simple look at what we're doing right now, phenomenal move, right? We got through this first little resistance right here. Wasn't really as important. This resistance, a little bit more important, which is why right here, remember, if you were going to re-enter that trade, look what we did right here. We came up, we came back down, and look at that. We retested it before pumping. So that gave us the signal that we were going to have a continuation of this move. We knew that the move was not done just yet at that point. So again, guys, if you do want to learn how to trade, make sure that you check out the tutorial popping up above. There's $56,000 in bonuses below spread across all the different platforms. Each one of them is different. Some of them are better for altcoins. Some of them are better for, the bonuses or the spot trading fees. Just have a look below, check it out, see which one you like the best, which one works for you. But nevertheless, even on the short term, we still have not put in a macro higher high. The first minimal level that you need to get above is this point right here, which is sitting at around $21,500. Now, we've come very close. In fact, on some of the leverage margin trading platforms, we did actually go above 20,500, right? But on the spot exchanges, the Brave Coin Liquid Index and the index itself, we did not go above that. So obviously, you have your speculators, and then you have your actual spot price action. So, is there a possibility that we retest down here again, just to confirm back around that $19,800 to $900 level? Well, here are the situations that we should be concerned about, that we should be watching, that we need to look for validation. I've already given you a few, right? We have putting in a new higher high, which we haven't done yet, going above the 200 weekly, which we haven't done yet. And another thing, and I know this isn't crypto related, but you have to admit, in this macro environment, we have seen a lot of confluence, a lot of similarities, right? Basically, you're seeing whatever the stocks do, Bitcoin kind of does in some quasi kind of way as well. Now, even though we have put in a higher low here short term on the stock market, which is pretty good, we have not put in a higher high. And we've once again found ourselves at this resistance, right? So what you minimally want to see is not only just Bitcoin. And like I said, I do believe long-term Bitcoin will become uncorrelated with stocks. I don't think that we just constantly need to look at stocks to know where Bitcoin is going forever. I think right now, we're kind of in that adolescent stage, right? Bitcoin is like 14, almost 15 years old. It's a teenager, right? It doesn't even have its license yet in the US, right? So I think it's still growing. It's still maturing. I think over time, Bitcoin will do its own thing. But right now we have to pay attention. And right now what we're seeing is a little bit of this red, from the stock market. So the stock market could theoretically consolidate until this point right here, right? Which would put us at around February 10th. Right? Before really seeing any major action. And generally speaking, after that, you do see some form of consolidation. Now, something to point out from CryptoQuant, they mentioned right here, you could see, they say Bitcoin price started the year in the green area, undervalued. However, there is no sign that it has hit bottom, the P&L index crossing above its 365-day moving average. Generally speaking, you can see that usually tends to mark the beginnings. Now, I just want to point out, back here, there was a fake out. Right? We did have a fake out. Look at this. We went all the way up, came back down, went back up, and came back down again. And this was a nice consolidation of a bear market, which is why Bitcoin did a 20x that year from the previous all-time high, right? It went to $1,000 all-time high, and then it went to 20K. We saw a 20x because we had that big consolidation, right? We had the same thing over here. It broke out. And, if we come up here to price, you can see that was happening right here. And yes, Bitcoin did continue to the upside. Now, right here, we are still in a downtrend pattern. This isn't really full-on accumulation. It doesn't mean we couldn't go back up to 25 or something like that, but I would anticipate us bouncing around in this area if you want a healthy recovery. I'm just being straight up here. If you want us to just go straight to 30K, it's possible, but that would not be healthy because you could see like what we did back here. Okay, right back here, this was in 2019. We had this crazy run up to 14K, and then we consolidated back down. Now, obviously, this was COVID, but minimally, you could see that sideways chop, right? We don't have that yet. We don't have that yet. So that's just something that we need to pay attention to. They mark out the bull bear market cycle indicator is still showing that Bitcoin is in a bear market. And by all technicalities, it is. I mean, just the fact that we're not above the 200 weekly, right? Now, if you want to go off the traditional, if it's 20% off the bottom, sure, you could say we're having a short, a bull market within a bear market, but the overall structure hasn't changed, right? We still are in a downtrend, which is why we need to break that. So we need this indicator to ultimately go above this 0 level in order to get that full-on confirmation. Now, I am going to give a bit of a warning. This is a lagging indicator. So by the time we do get that indicator, it's already well into the first quarter of the bear market, right? But, some of these bigger guys, they're not trying to scalp the bottoms. They're not like you and me, just dollar cost averaging. They don't care. They don't care if they miss the first 20, 30, 40%. Doesn't matter to them. As long as they get that big move, they know it's a confirmed uptrend. Then you could just throw any money you want in it and it's going to go up. Right now, you're still kind of on that teetering point where you don't know if you buy now, could it go back down to 17 or 18? Could it? We don't know. We don't know. Whereas once you get that confirmation, sure, sell the house, sell the kids, go all in, don't ever do that. But nevertheless, that is sort of the confirmation that these bigger institutional players look at. And, Kevin O'Leary was out the other day, and he was saying that there's still a lot of institutions on the sideline. And although this is a nice pump, I am a little cautious because I highly, highly, highly doubt that retail had anything to do with this pump. No one was even talking about Bitcoin literally 2 to 3 weeks ago. And now all of a sudden Bitcoin's pumping. And I finally had somebody reach out to me for the first time and go, hey, I just saw Bitcoin had a big pump. Should I buy now? Okay, so that's now the interest is coming in. So like I said, is Apple buying? Is a sovereign wealth fund buying? I don't know. That could move this price. But I do know there's a lot of institutions still waiting for that regulatory clarity. Now, let's talk about the possibilities. So you guys know about these CME Futures Gaps. And so many people call them memes. They say that they'll never get filled. They don't get filled. We have one up here too, by the way. But you can see right here, we did in fact have a CME Futures Gap. And that basically a CME Futures Gap occurs when you have a really big price pump over a weekend or something like that, right? So obviously we had the markets closed for the holiday weekend, and what we ended up essentially having is this gap. These gaps tend to get filled. Why do they get filled? I don't know. People ask me this all the time. I wish I had an answer. There is no logical explanation for why these gaps get filled. None whatsoever. They might as well be memes at this point. But if you go back in history and you have a look at whenever we have these gaps, right? Look, we had this, we had this gap right here, this little mini one, that got filled. We had this gap right here around 24. And look at this, all the way over here, we filled it. If we go back here, we had another one around 18, come over here, that got filled. Now, this gap right here, look, here's a gap that we had. This was between 32.9 all the way up to 34.48. And look what ended up happening. Price came down and we filled that gap, right? Gap got filled here, gap got filled here, gap got filled here. Now this gap has not gotten filled. That's up at around 35,000. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's take it one day at a time here. So the gap that we have right now is around 19,990. So there is at least a minimum possibility that we could at least see price come down and fill this gap, right? And then we can try making an attempt again at this move right here. Now, it doesn't mean we have to fill it. There is one gap. If we go, well, okay, there's two gaps. This one up here, but we know we're going to fill that gap. Come on. We know we're going to go back to 34,000 at some point. That's not even a question. That's just a matter of when. There was this one gap, super, super low, around 9,000. Where is it? Nope, lower than that. Right here. So there's this little gap. Let me zoom in so you guys can see it. This happened right on this crazy pump. Now, this is very similar to what we're seeing right now, right? Where we had this sideways and then boom, crazy pump. We never filled this gap. Now, in order to fill this gap, we'd have to go down to 9,750. The only thing that I could say about that, though, is that that gap happened back in the consolidation of this previous bear market. So this was literally an entire cycle, basically, ago. Right? This was like a full-on cycle. So the only reason that I'm sort of discounting this temporarily is because it happened so long ago that we've actually entered a brand new cycle, went all the way up to 70K and have fallen all the way back down again, to this $15,000 level. So that one is iffy. Are we going to go down and fill a $9,000 gap? I'm not ruling anything out at this point. I'm just saying that short term, it doesn't seem very likely. What does seem likely is we either come down and fill this gap, or, and this would be a little bit, I mean, it'd be great for trading, but it would definitely screw a lot of people up. You know, we come up here, we come down, we don't fill the gap, we come all the way up here, probably not in a straight line like the way I'm drawing it, and we close this one up here at around 28,000 only, and then we don't end up putting in another higher high, right? Because that would fake people out. They'd be like, oh, we got this one, we got this one. We even broke the downtrend, but then what happens is you still have this one, you still have this one, and then we'd be here. Although it would be a nice little curve starting, but we wouldn't actually get all the way higher, and then we would end up coming down and filling the second gap. So I personally, if what I would want to do is I would want to fill this gap now. I would want to get it out of the way. I would prefer we come down and fill the gap at 19,990, or roughly kind of 20K realistically, but a little lower. I'd rather fill that now than later. So that's what we're looking at, guys. But ultimately, just having a look back here, right here, what we're doing, we're basically just consolidating. We're looking for a big move to break out to the upside or to the downside. You can see right here over on Bitfinex, we actually did get above. We got around to 21,600. So I guess technically Bitfinex, that is a spot exchange, but on the overall index, the majority did not actually break that number in total. So what you want to do again is break above 21,500, hold above 21,500, and if we can do that at least for a week, then I say bull run is back on, at least for the short term to midterm, and we should be good for quite some time. So that's where we're at today. Not too much to talk about. Same kind of things we've been discussing. Yeah, this video actually went on a little bit longer than I thought it was going to go on for, but we did have a lot to talk about. So, boring right now, right? Super exciting. Now it's boring. That's how the markets go. Let's see where it plays out. Let's see what we do next. Let's see if this move gets validated. And at that point, we'll have a much better understanding of how to play this market. People are asking me in the comments, what should I do? Should I long? Should I short? If you didn't already long, I wouldn't do anything right now. I would just wait and see where the charts take us. And once we find another clear-cut setup, something that just screams to us, like the last one, we knew that was going to be a long, then we'll let you know, okay? So that's it for me, guys. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Make sure that you take advantage of those $56,000 in bonuses. And also, friendly reminder, again, if you want to follow me on Facebook, maybe you can send some Crypto Zombie videos to your friends and family that, use Facebook a lot. I know my sister uses it a lot. My aunt and uncle, they're very into Facebook. So, but yeah, I'll be posting over there. Anyway, guys, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, this is where you're going to get the majority of the info anyway. But that being said, thank you so much. Links below in the description if you're interested. I hope you guys are having a great start to your week. To the real week, the week where we're actually starting to trade, not our day off. So thanks again. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Make sure that you check out this video right here, popping up right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.